Good morning, everybody. I just came back from the sandblast area. I have this Dana 30 in clean white metal. There's the housing. Cleaned up the hubs, steering knuckles. Everything is down to clean white metal, and I have some epoxy primer mixed up right now. And we're going to shoot all the insides and everywhere before it gets assembled again. Right in this area here, you can't ever get paint in there. Axle shafts are over here, and you can see those still don't turn. Even if I try and lift it, those joints are really screwed up. I've got new joints, and all this stuff is going to get maybe 3 coats of epoxy primer. Then we'll assemble it, and then we'll do some finished black. So while I was out there, I got the door frames for the CJ5 hardtop sandblasted, and I've got some weldable primer on the back side where it's going to hit the door, and I'll just let those dry, and I'll show you how the doors go together on that when the time comes. So right now I'm going to go get geared up, put some paint in the gun, and start working on getting these in some epoxy primer. Okay, be back with you soon. Hello everybody, we're back on this Dana 30 axle rebuild, and I've already set in the pinion and the ring gear and stuff. I've done previous videos on setting up gears, and I don't want to keep going over the same material. So if you're looking for how to set up a ring and pinion, go back to some of my earlier videos, and I go through the exact steps that are needed with this axle in another video. So the pinion's in there, whole carrier in there, spider gears, everything. This is just a stock rebuild. We've got 9 thousandths of backlash, and we've got a very nice tooth pattern on this, and the whole center section now is done. The seal's in, the shims are right. We've got 14 inches of rotational torque on the pinion, so everything has been taken care of for the center section. And when I did the disassembly, I showed you how to remove the ball joints, and now I'm going to get set up, take you over to the bench, and show you how to install the ball joints, and then we can get the knuckles on this axle. Okay, we're getting ready to set some ball joints in, and I like to use moved ball joints. I think they're the finest available. This is a greasable set, upper and lower. A lot of grease fittings you can get cheaper, but you can't grease them. So when you're able to grease a ball joint, it lasts that much longer. Here is the left side. You can see I've got the lower ball joint in there. When you get your ball joint, there's going to be a snap ring groove on the bottom of this ball joint. Don't concern yourself with that. When this was used in a Jeep application, you did not use the snap ring. They give you a snap ring in the kit, but this same ball joint fits Fords and Dodges and things like that. So the snap ring is only used in other applications, not in the Jeep application. They've got very nice knurling around here, so that's going to fit in there nice and snug. And I will show you the setup that I use for that. You need your 3-in-1 tool, basically. Get that threaded in there. Then we're going to get a little push spacer, and that fits right on the ball joint. And then this cap gets kind of tight in here. Put that cap on there. And then because the ball joint sticks out the bottom, we need this other cap that's going to fit in there. So you kind of got to juggle it around and stuff. And I'll get this set up, and I'll be right back with you, and we'll push that ball joint right in. Okay, I'm going to use the impact gun to turn the threads here, and I'll drive that right in there. Make sure your threads have lube on them. And these little knurls are going to catch right in there, and it's going to push right in and be good and solid. So let's get this driven in there. And you can feel when that seats down in there, you can feel it in the gun. It just fetches right up and gets real tight. Don't overdo it. You don't want to break anything. But I think you can see that, how the snap ring won't actually fit in there. Don't worry anything about that. You don't need it in there. The boot goes on, and that's the lower set in there. And I'll show you how to do the uppers next. Okay guys, I got one side done here, and I think you can see the bottom is greased right from the bottom. It's you know, you just get under there with a grease gun and hit that. And the top one, they put the grease fitting on the side, so that's going to be sitting like that. And when you read the directions, they're going to tell you to take that grease fitting and point it directly toward the rear of the vehicle. On some applications that will work. On the Jeep application, it will not work because the casting gets thicker back there. You can't ever get the grease fitting in. It has to come out on a perfect angle for you to be able to grease it. You know, you'll cut your wheel that way and you'll be able to get in there and grease it. But you have to get it where the casting is the thinnest. Otherwise, you'll never get the grease fitting in there. So it's critical, if you have the greasable ones, that you put the grease fitting in the right place. Some greasable ones are greased from the bottom, and basically you have to take your axle shaft out when you do service and grease it. Moog makes one, like I say, where you could just put it right in the side, but it has to be coming out at the right point. So this is the one we need to do, and you can see up here it's a little, it's not perfectly flat. So in your kit, you get these offset adapters here. So that'll go on the bottom, and it'll find a flat spot there, and that'll allow me to push it in. And I have to use a little bit longer pusher because the stem is so long. So that goes like that. Oop, that guy goes on the bottom. We rotate it till we find the right spot, and then just put the clamp on it and push it in like the last one. Nothing special here. Like I say, that grease fitting hole has to be coming out in the exact right spot. So it'll be over in that corner so you can get the grease gun at it. Okay, it's going to be exactly the same for both sides, so I'll just show you this side here where it's easy to get the camera to. You're going to get your new split threaded ring in the kit with the ball joint, and I've just got a little bit of oil on there, and you're going to thread this in before you set the knuckle on there. And you're going to make that flush. You remember you need that special socket we talked about last time. You're going to set this flush with the top of the casting before you set your knuckle in. Okay, I'm going to go get the knuckle, and I'll show you how we put that in and give you the torque specs for that. Okay, I've got the knuckle here. When you go put your boot on the bottom, it doesn't matter how you put it on. On the top, in little writing here, it says mount inboard. There's a little notch here, and I think you can see the angle that's going to sit on. So the boot is made to mold up against and fit on the angle of the casting. So that little notch has to be away from the wheel, has to be pointing toward the inside of the vehicle, and it's labeled right on there. Make sure you get your boot on right. Now I'm going to go and put this right on the casting, and we'll start to fasten it on for good. Okay, I'm going to try and stay out of the way of the camera and mount this knuckle. So everything comes up from the bottom. And then you've got a thin jam nut here. It's got 3 little areas to kind of lock everything. And I'm just going to get that started on the bottom. Okay, and that's going to hold the knuckle so it doesn't get away from me. Okay guys, we've got the knuckle on there. And if you're doing this in a vehicle and you put your knuckle in, you can put a jack under it and get enough tension. You could get that bottom one seated in the taper so you can put your lock nut on there. When you're doing it on a bench and you go to put that lock nut on there, the locks, it's going to get real tight. It's going to start spinning that before it draws it up into the taper to hold it tight. There's a fixture that they use, you know, at dealerships and stuff, which would squeeze this knuckle up into the casting, and that would allow you to tighten that bottom. And you have to tighten this bottom one first before you set your split ring and your upper. So you could just take an upper nut, this castle nut, and put it on here. And it's got no locking feature to it, so it's not gonna spin your ball joint. I got to turn that a little bit. You can probably not be able to see it, but now you can take this, and that's a 1 5/16 nut. You can take that and you can start to tighten that down. And the bottom one, you have to pull that bottom one to 85 foot-pounds before you can start setting the top. So I'm going to snug this up to 85. Then I'm going to go after the top. Then I'll take that nut off and I'll put the lock nut on there. So let me go get the torque wrench and we'll torque that one to 85 foot-pounds. Okay, I've got the torque wrench set up. I've got it set to 85 foot-pounds. Again, it's kind of a pain to do these on a bench. When it's in the vehicle, everything's a lot more sturdy. I'm going to hold on to this the best I can, give it a pull, and see if we're close. Okay, that's 85 foot-pounds. And I'll get set up and show you how we do the top next. Okay, once the bottom's torqued, we're going to go after this split nut here. I gotta go get a different socket. This one's not deep enough. Hang in there. Okay guys, we got that split ring there seated to 50 foot-pounds. This upper nut goes to 100 foot-pounds, and then tighten it to the next slot. Don't loosen it to get that cotter pin lined up. So I'm going to just slowly take this up to 100 foot-pounds, and we'll see where we wind up. Okay, there we are at 100, and it looks like we're lined up with a cotter pin hole, so the top is going to be set. If it wasn't, we'd go to the next slot. Don't ever loosen it. And right now we're going to go after that lower nut and put the correct one on now. Okay guys, that's one side complete. That's how you put a knuckle on there properly and set your ball joints. The same exact thing for the other side. When this is just sitting on a bench and you put those in there and you go give it a wiggle, it might feel a little tight until you get some grease in there, until you get the actual weight of the vehicle on there. It's going to feel a little different. You might think just pulling on a little bit it feels too tight, but that's what they're supposed to feel like. So this side's done. I'll get the other side finished. We've got the U-joints to put in the axle shafts and I'm still waiting on those to come. They should be here by the end of the week. And then we'll get going on the hubs and the brakes and things like that. But I just want to show you guys how to put the ball joints in, how to get that seat and everything torqued properly, and that's a complete installation on the steering knuckle. And I think we'll end it here, and next time we'll go over the axle shafts and the brakes, and that should finish it up. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.